The screech of tires sliced through the roar of Interstate 5 like a blade. Avery Reynolds watched in horror as her 8-year-old daughter Mia darted between stopped cars straight into the path of a speeding semi. Two motorcycles thundered in from the shoulder leather jackets gleaming under the California sun. One rider swerved hard, the other braked inches from Mia's tiny frame, shielding her with their bodies. Avery's legs moved before her mind caught up. She sprinted through honking horns, shoving past strangers until she dropped to her knees beside her crying child. "Mia, baby, are you okay?" Her voice cracked. The taller biker pulled off her helmet, first revealing sharp cheekbones and a mess of short dark hair. Avery's stomach plummeted. Those stormy gray eyes hadn't changed in 20 years. Shiloh Kane. The woman Avery had sworn she never wanted to see again. The woman she had destroyed. Shiloh's gaze locked on Avery's, and the air between them thickened with 20 years of silence. Avery. The name came out hoarse, like it hurt to say. The second biker, a woman with sun-bleached ponytail and kind blue eyes named Ren Harlan, stayed crouched beside Mia, checking for injuries. "She's shaken but fine, no blood. We got to her in time." Ren's voice was steady, professional, but her eyes flicked between Shiloh and Avery, sensing the storm. Traffic crawled around them, sirens already wailing in the distance. Avery couldn't breathe. The last time she had seen Shiloh, they were 19, standing in the rain outside Avery's childhood home while her father screamed that their love was an abomination. Avery had said the words that ended everything. "I never loved you. It was a mistake." Now here Shiloh was saving the child Avery had raised in the safe, straight life her family demanded. Paramedics arrived, wrapping Mia in a blanket. Avery followed them to the ambulance in a daze, Shiloh and Ren trailing silently on their bikes. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed Mia had only bruises and shock. Avery sat in the plastic chair, clutching her daughter's hand, replaying the moment Shiloh's helmet came off. 20 years of carefully constructed lies cracked open in 1 second. Her husband Daniel had died 3 years earlier, leaving her to raise Mia alone, but the real ghost had just roared back on a Harley. When the nurse left, Shiloh stepped into the doorway, arms crossed. "We need to talk, Avery." "Not here." "Not with her listening." Ren waited outside, giving them space. Avery nodded numbly. The past wasn't buried anymore. It had just saved her daughter's life. That night, back in her quiet suburban home in Sacramento, Avery tucked Mia into bed and stared at the ceiling. Memories flooded in uninvited. College orientation 2004. Shiloh had been the confident art major with paint on her jeans and a laugh that made the whole room brighter. They had met at a late-night study group, and within weeks stolen kisses behind the library felt like destiny. Avery remembered the way Shiloh's hand fit perfectly in hers, the whispered promises under dorm blankets. Then her parents found the letters. The screaming, the threats, the ultimatum. "Choose us or her, Avery. Choose your future." So she chose. She drove to Shiloh's apartment that final night and lied with every ounce of strength she had left. Shiloh's face had shattered. Avery had walked away and never looked back. Until today. The next morning, a knock echoed through the house. Avery opened the door to find Shiloh and Ren standing on her porch, helmets in hand. "We brought her bike back," Ren said, gently handing over Mia's forgotten backpack. Shiloh's eyes were unreadable. "And we need answers, Avery. Because saving your kid doesn't erase what you did." Avery stepped aside, letting them in, heart hammering. The conversation she had avoided for 2 decades was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. Avery poured coffee with shaking hands while Shiloh and Ren sat at her kitchen table like they belonged there. Mia was still asleep upstairs, exhausted from the ordeal. Ren spoke first, her voice calm. "We ride together full-time now. Cross-country charity runs for kids in foster care. Yesterday we were just passing through." Shiloh cut in, eyes never leaving Avery. "Funny how the universe works. 1 minute you're cruising, the next you're staring at the girl who ripped your heart out 20 years ago." Avery set the mugs down hard. "I didn't expect this, Shiloh. I never wanted any of it to come back." Shiloh laughed bitterly. "You never wanted me. That's what you said, remember? Right before your father threatened to cut you off completely." The words landed like punches. Avery sank into a chair, flashing back to that rainy night outside her parents' house in Fresno. Her mother had cried, her father had raged, calling them unnatural. Avery had stood there shaking and repeated the script they fed her. "It was just a phase. I'm sorry I hurt you, but I'm moving on." Shiloh had begged on her knees in the downpour. Avery had walked inside and locked the door. Wren reached over, squeezing Shiloh's hand, a quiet show of support that twisted something deep in Avery's chest. "We've been together 7 years now," Wren said softly. "Built a life on the road. But Shiloh still wakes up some nights saying your name." Avery felt the guilt rise like bile. She had married Daniel 6 months after the breakup, a safe, kind man who never asked too many questions. They had Mia, and for a while Avery convinced herself she was happy. Then Daniel's heart attack 3 years ago left her alone with a daughter who looked nothing like her father, and everything like the emptiness Avery carried. "I was scared," Avery whispered finally. "My parents said they'd disown me. College money gone, everything. I believed them." Shiloh leaned forward. "And now? Your kid almost dies and suddenly the big bad lesbian past shows up on a motorcycle. Convenient." The argument escalated fast. Avery's voice rose, defending the choices that kept her family intact. Shiloh fired back, every wound still raw. Wren tried to mediate, but the years of silence exploded between them. Neighbors peeked through curtains as raised voices spilled onto the street. By the time Shiloh and Wren left, Avery was shaking. She called her mother in Fresno that afternoon, desperate for grounding. "Mom, something happened yesterday." The line went cold when Avery mentioned the bikers. "Stay away from that woman, Avery. She almost ruined your life once. Don't let her near Mia." The words echoed the same ultimatum from 2 decades ago. Avery hung up, feeling smaller than ever. That evening Mia asked about the cool biker ladies who saved her. Avery lied, saying they were just strangers, but the lie tasted like ash. Later, alone in the shower, she let the tears come, remembering the night she and Shiloh had driven to the coast on Shiloh's old bike parked under the stars and talked about running away together. Shiloh had promised, "No one can touch us out here." Avery had believed her until reality crashed in. Now reality was crashing again, only this time she had a daughter watching. The next morning a text from an unknown number appeared. "Shiloh, meet us at the old lookout point tonight. Alone. We're not done." Avery stared at the screen, knowing one wrong move could tear her world apart all over again. The lookout point hadn't changed in 20 years. Same rusted guardrail, same sweeping view of the Sacramento River glittering under moonlight. Avery parked her sensible SUV beside the 2 Harleys and stepped out, pulse racing. Shiloh leaned against her bike, arms crossed, while Wren sat on the railing, giving them space. "You came," Shiloh said flatly. Avery nodded. "I owe you that much. For Mia." The conversation started civil, then spiraled. Shiloh demanded to know why Avery never reached out, never apologized. Avery defended herself with the same tired excuses: family expectations, societal pressure, the fear of losing everything. Wren finally spoke up, her voice steady. "I'm not here to fight, but Shiloh carried this pain for 2 decades. You don't get to pretend it didn't happen." Avery looked at Wren, seeing the quiet strength that had clearly helped Shiloh heal. It stung. Flashback hit Avery hard, standing there. She remembered the day her father found the letters hidden in her dorm. He had driven 4 hours to confront her, dragging her home like a criminal. Her mother had packed her things while reciting Bible verses. Avery had called Shiloh from a payphone, voice breaking. "I can't do this anymore. Please don't contact me." Shiloh had shown up anyway, begging outside the house until security was called. Avery had watched from the window, too terrified to intervene. Back in the present, Shiloh's voice cracked. "I waited 6 months for you to change your mind. Then I left town on my first bike and never looked back." Avery reached out instinctively, but Shiloh stepped away. "Don't. You lost that right the day you chose them over us." News of the rescue had spread through town. By morning, Avery's phone buzzed with texts from old high school friends. "Saw the video on the news. Those bikers are heroes. Wait, is that Shiloh Kane?" The community that once shunned their relationship now praised the same women. Avery's mother called again, furious. "People are talking, Avery. Keep that woman away from our family." The pressure mounted like before. At work, Avery's boss pulled her aside. "Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." She smiled through it all, but inside the walls were crumbling. That night Mia asked again about the bikers. Avery showed her a picture from the news article. Mia's eyes lit up. "They're so cool, Mom. Can we thank them properly?" Avery promised she would, but the promise felt like another lie. Shiloh and Ren stayed in town longer than planned, renting a cheap motel near the freeway. Ren suggested a truce coffee meeting with Mia present to ease tension. Avery agreed reluctantly. The four of them sat at a diner booth, Mia chattering happily about motorcycles while the adults navigated small talk like a minefield. Shiloh softened slightly watching Mia, but the hurt never left her eyes. Later in the parking lot, Shiloh pulled Avery aside. "She's beautiful. Looks like you at that age." Avery's throat tightened. "She's all I have left, Shiloh." Shiloh nodded once. "Then don't make the same mistake twice." The words lingered as Avery drove home, wondering how long she could keep the past and present from colliding completely. The confrontation Avery dreaded arrived on a Sunday afternoon. Her parents drove up from Fresno unannounced after seeing the news clip online. They marched into her living room demanding answers. "That woman is back in your life, Avery? After everything we sacrificed?" Her father's voice boomed exactly as it had 20 years ago. Avery stood her ground this time, Mia watching wide-eyed from the stairs. "She saved your granddaughter, Dad. That has to count for something." Her mother wrung her hands. "It's unnatural, Avery. People are already whispering at church. Think of Mia." The guilt Avery had carried for decades ignited into anger. She finally voiced what she had buried. "I loved her, Mom. Really loved her. And you made me throw it away." The room went silent. Her father's face turned red. "We saved you from a mistake. Don't rewrite history." They left in a huff, but the damage was done. Mia asked quietly, "Mom, what did Grandpa mean by unnatural?" Avery hugged her daughter tight, unable to explain. That evening Avery drove to the motel where Shiloh and Ren were staying. She found them packing their bikes, ready to leave town. "Don't go," Avery said before she could stop herself. Shiloh turned slowly. "Give me one reason to stay, Avery. One honest reason." Avery's voice broke. "Because I never stop thinking about you. Because every time I look at Mia, I wonder what our life could have been." Ren stepped back respectfully, letting them talk. Shiloh's eyes filled with tears for the first time. "You broke me, Avery. I rode across 3 states trying to outrun the pain. Ren helped me build something real. I can't just drop everything because you finally feel guilty." Yet she didn't leave. Instead, they walked along the river path talking until dawn. Avery shared the lonely years after Daniel's death, the sleepless nights wondering if she had made the biggest mistake of her life. Shiloh told stories of the road, the freedom she found on 2 wheels, the slow healing. Community judgment grew louder. A local news station wanted interviews. Avery's boss suggested she take time off. Old friends sent judgmental texts. Avery felt the same pressure closing in that had forced her hand 2 decades earlier. But this time something was different. Watching Shiloh patiently teach Mia how to sit on a stationary Harley in the motel parking lot, Avery felt the first cracks of courage. Ren noticed pulling Avery aside one afternoon. "She still loves you, you know. Not the same way, but it's there. Don't waste it again." Avery nodded, tears stinging. The next day she made the call she had avoided for years. She told her parents she was done hiding. The conversation ended in shouts, but Avery hung up feeling lighter. Mia's school called the following week. A parent had complained about those biker women around the children. Avery marched into the principal's office defending Shiloh and Ren with a fierceness she hadn't known she possessed. Walking out, she found Shiloh waiting by the curb. "Heard what you did," Shiloh said softly. "Means more than you know." For the first time in 20 years, Avery reached for Shiloh's hand. And this time Shiloh didn't pull away. The town's annual summer festival became the unexpected battlefield. Avery had agreed to let Shiloh and Ren ride in the parade as heroes of the Freeway rescue. What she hadn't counted on was her parents showing up with a small group of church friends carrying signs about protecting family values. The confrontation unfolded in front of half the town. Avery stood between her parents and the 2 bikers, voice steady. "Shiloh saved Mia's life. She deserves respect, not judgment." Her father pointed a finger at Shiloh. "She almost destroyed our daughter once. We won't let it happen again." Shiloh stepped forward, calm but firm. "I loved your daughter, sir. Still respect her. But she's a grown woman now. Let her choose." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others whispering. Ren stayed beside Mia, shielding the girl from the tension. Cameras flashed. The local paper would run the story tomorrow. Later that night at Avery's house, the four of them sat on the back porch. Mia had fallen asleep inside. Avery finally told the full truth: the threats, the forced therapy sessions, the years of pretending to be someone she wasn't. Shiloh listened without interruption, then shared her own side: the nights she had written until dawn, the letters she never sent. Ren added gently, "Love isn't a phase, Avery. It's what you build every day." Avery looked at Shiloh under the string lights and felt the weight of 2 decades lift slightly. "I was wrong, Shiloh. I was scared and I hurt you. I'm so sorry." Shiloh's eyes softened. "I forgive you, Avery. But forgiveness doesn't mean picking up where we left off. I have a life now. Ren and I built something real." The honesty hurt, but it was healing. The following weeks blurred into a careful dance. Shiloh and Ren extended their stay, helping with Mia's therapy after the accident. Avery joined them on short rides around town, feeling the wind in her hair for the first time since college. Memories surfaced in quiet moments: the way Shiloh used to tuck a strand of hair behind Avery's ear, the shared laughter at silly movies. Yet reality pressed in. Avery's mother stopped calling. Some friends distanced themselves. Avery started attending a local support group for women who had hidden their truth. Each meeting chipped away at the shame. One evening Shiloh rode over alone. They sat on the porch swing talking for hours. "I'm proud of you, Avery," Shiloh said quietly. "You're finally fighting for yourself." Avery smiled through tears. "Took me long enough." Ren watched from afar, never jealous, only supportive. She confided in Avery one afternoon, "Shiloh needed this closure. We both did." The 3 women formed an unlikely friendship forged in fire. Mia thrived under their combined care, asking endless questions about motorcycles and bravery. Avery realized the family she had feared losing was being rebuilt, stronger, different but real. Summer faded into fall, and with it came the hardest conversation yet. Shiloh and Ren had to leave for their next charity ride up the coast. Avery stood in the driveway watching them load the bikes, heart heavy. Mia hugged both women tightly, promising to write letters. Shiloh turned to Avery last. "This isn't goodbye, Avery." "Not completely. We'll be back for Thanksgiving if you'll have us." Avery nodded, tears falling freely. "I want you both here. As family." They embraced, then the kind of hug that carried every unsaid word from 20 years. Ren smiled warmly. "Take care of each other." The motorcycles roared to life and disappeared down the street. Avery watched until the taillights vanished, feeling both loss and hope. The months that followed tested everything. Avery came out publicly in a quiet social media post thanking the 2 bikers who saved her daughter and her own heart. The response was mixed, but the support from unexpected places gave her strength. She reconnected with old friends who had stayed silent years ago. Her father eventually sent a short email, "I'm trying to understand." It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. Mia flourished, asking thoughtful questions about love and courage. Avery answered honestly for the first time. When Thanksgiving arrived, Shiloh and Ren returned, the house filled with laughter and stories. Around the table, Avery looked at the makeshift family she had fought to build and felt peace. On the last night of their visit, Shiloh and Avery sat alone on the porch swing one final time. "I don't regret the road I took," Shiloh said softly. "But I'm glad it led me back to you." Avery leaned her head on Shiloh's shoulder. "I wasted so much time being afraid. Thank you for giving me another chance to be brave." They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. The love had changed shape, but it remained. Ren joined them later, the 3 women watching the stars in comfortable silence. Mia slept inside, dreaming of motorcycles and heroes. Life moved forward. Avery sold the big suburban house, bought a smaller place with a garage for future bikes. She started volunteering with the same charity Shiloh and Ren supported. The past no longer haunted her, it guided her. And every time she heard the distant roar of Harleys on the freeway, she smiled, knowing some rescues save more than one life. Is it ever too late for redemption when love was the original truth? True or false?